a favorite of the liberal left, the Massachusetts senator, 70, had been a frontrunner in the Democratic field. The Democratic contest to take on President Donald Trump in November is now seen as a two-horse race between former Vice President Joe Biden, 77, and Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders, 78. Ms. Warren said she needed some time to reflect on who to support. Her departure may clear the path for Mr. Sanders in particular, the sole progressive candidate left in the race. With Ms. Warren's departure, a Democratic race that began with a record high of female candidates is now effectively left to two male frontrunners. One of the hardest parts of this, Ms. Warren said on Thursday, is all those little girls who are going to have to wait 4 more years. That's going to be hard. Asked how she had made the decision to drop out, Ms. Warren said she returned to the issues that had anchored her campaign, the vast costs of student loan debt, healthcare, and childcare that plagues millions of Americans. I had to think about where is the best place for me to go to keep fighting those fights, she said. My job is to keep fighting and to fight this as smartly and effectively as I can. What's the postmortem on the Warren campaign? Now that she has dropped out, postmortems on Elizabeth Warren's campaign have begun. Many point to her shifting message on universal government-run healthcare, a topic that was never a top priority for her. It caused liberals to stick with Bernie Sanders and centrists to have their doubts about her. Others suggest she was harmed by hesitant performances in the debates that mattered, before the Iowa and New Hampshire contests. Her strongest effort came with her vivisection of Michael Bloomberg in Las Vegas, which was buried by Sanders's win in the Nevada caucuses, and too late to influence the outcome. Then there's the issue of sexism. 4 years after Democrats chose Hillary Clinton to be their nominee, voters may have been reluctant to opt for another woman atop the ticket. This reluctance was seldom explicit, instead being raised in concerns about likability or electability and what other, hypothetical, swing state voters might think of her. It also sometimes reared its head in Warren's media coverage, where her healthcare backtracking received considerably more criticism than similar pirouettes and hedging by Pete Buttigieg and other male candidates. The U.S. will elect its first woman president someday, but it will not be in 2020. What does Elizabeth Warren believe in? The erudite Ms. Warren vaulted into the political arena more than a decade ago as she pushed for tougher regulation of the financial sector after the 2008 economic collapse. She championed the creation of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, a government agency that would serve as a Wall Street watchdog. In 2010, she helped the Obama White House set it up. 2 years later, the former Harvard Law professor rode that momentum to a seat in the U.S. Senate for Massachusetts. Though her name was floated as a possible 2016 Democratic nominee, the senator demurred, saying she was not interested in the top job. This time around, Ms. Warren was the first major Democratic candidate to announce her plans for a presidential bid. Early in the race, her policy-centric approach, "I've got a plan for that" was a favorite refrain, seemed effective. In October last year, she led most national polls. But by December 2019, Ms. Warren had been pushed back, hurt by a difficult debate where her rivals hammered her over key policy promises like Medicare for All. And despite massive investments in early voting states, Iowa, New Hampshire, and Nevada, Ms. Warren failed to be a top 2 finisher in any. In fact, she came third in her home state of Massachusetts on Super Tuesday. Her exit follows closely behind former South Bend, Indiana Mayor Pete Buttigieg, billionaire Michael Bloomberg and Minnesota Senator Amy Klobuchar.